Yo guys, how's it going? I'm coming with another interesting tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm trying to explain about how we can implement search functionality using JavaScript, client-based search functionality using JavaScript. So let's go for it. First of all, I'm just going to run my project. There you go. Alright, so in this project, this is a landing page, so if you're going to choose any of these pages, it's just going to come down and to it page itself, and we have a search functionality here. So if user just going to click here, something gonna pop up and user need to search here and then click on enter, so get some result. But the thing is that because this is a landing page, I didn't need to perform this search functionality using Django or any backend language, because Django is a framework of Python. Because in this project I'm using Django to implement all of the features, but sometimes if you it depends on your purpose, but sometimes you don't need to use Django to implement a certain functionality. For example, in this situation, because there is no product exists in this page, which user need to search, and then that search functionality need to ask some question from server, and server gives response to those questions. So we don't need our backend, we don't need server to interact with, we don't need to interact with server. So that's why I'm using JavaScript only in this situation. But sometimes you can use and you can implement the search functionality using your backend language, like any backend framework which you're using, but it depends on the situation. But in this way, I'm not gonna use it, because I just want my website. If user search something like that here, so you're just going to check whole of this because this is a landing page, right? It doesn't need to interact with server or database, and it is a small website. So I want whenever user search something here, in that string need to search in the whole of the content which exists in the website, and if it was that string was inside this web page, so just show the result here. Alright, so that's why we're using JavaScript. So the question is that, first of all, because this is a search functionality, now I want to explain how I implement this functionality here, search. So here you go. So as you can see, we have a form here, which our form is related to our search form here. So the thing is that how we can implement a search functionality using JavaScript. First of all, there are some things which you have to first write it down and do them right, like one by one. So right now I wanna talk about that. So because first of all, it's better to talk about JavaScript, then come back to here, because right now we're using as you can see here, we're using ID of search results, and we're using ID of search here, and then we are going to use these IDs in our JavaScript to call them. So that's better to start with JavaScript code. So I already wrote a JavaScript a small function. Now I want to explain about that. So if you want to implement a search functionality using JavaScript, first thing which you have to do is to create a variable. It can have any name. I put it last search term. Why I did that? Because I want whenever user search something here and enter, so and he just changed the string to another thing, that's last search term. I don't want that last search term to be equal with the search query, which the current search query. So if the new search term is the same as the last one, don't try to or prevent from duplicate information, because if you're not going to use this, you're just going to, when you're going to enter a couple of times, just going to show the result in a duplicate term. Like for example, you're going to write fit here, just going to find it, but if you're going to enter again, just going to show it like 8 times or 10 times, like that. So because we want to prevent from that first, and we want to make sure the last search term is different from the new one, That's why we already created a variable which is empty right now. And then what we're going to do, we're going to create a document add even listener, and we are going to listen. We are going to listen dump content. We are going to listen to the search form. What is this search form? If we're going to copy this here, we are going to see ID of search form here. So we are going to listen to the search form, and we are going to listen to the submit of that search form, to the event of submit of that search form. And if that submit get happen, what does that mean? That means right now I'm going to search something here. Okay, right now I'm just going to search something here. If I'm going to write here, first I load search, right? Because I load the search, that means I'm inside the search form. Right now if I'm going to enter, it's just going to listen for the submit and then do the rest, which is this, right? So we're going to listen to the submit, and whenever user submits any string, try to event from prevent default. Try to event.prevent default. What does that mean? That means we are going to avoid from reload, because prevent default is mostly moving to another page or reload. So right now I'm gonna show you right now, because I know there is a fit word here. So if I'm going to write fit, we're going to see a couple of fit result here, right? But if I'm just going to remove this one, which is mean I'm not going to prevent from default. So what it's just going to do, it's just going to, if I'm going to write fit again, it's just going to reload, because if you're not going to prevent from default, because this is a traditional way of form how it works and search functionality. It's usually reload or move to another page. It depends on the HTML code which we already write. But the thing is that if you're not going to prevent from that, the result is just going to get shown, because we already call the perform search function, but it's just going to reload as well. But we don't want that. That's why we are going to prevent from that. Prevent from traditional way, which is reloading. And then after that we are going to call this function. So I'm going to explain again. We are going to get the element by ID of search form, which is a search form, which I already show you. And then we are going to listen to the submit event, and if the submit event happen, try to prevent from default, which is traditional way, which is going to reload, and then try to run this and call this function. And now we are going to get into explaining what does this function do actually. So this function has a couple of variables here. We have two variables here, and the first one, it is a search query. We're going to get the element by ID of search, and then get the value of that, and then try to put it to lowercase. So if I'm going to write like test in uppercase like that, this one is just going to get a store in this variable, but in a way of lowercase. And we have a result container, which is another variable. But what is the value of that? The value of that is the search result. So we are going to get the element by ID of search result, and we are going to put the value of that inside this variable. And then we are going to check if the search query was equal with last search term, because our last search term right now is empty. So that means if I'm going to couple of times do empty enter right now, because I think remove, let me control S. So again, okay, nice work. If I'm going to enter, it is empty string, right? There is no string here. Or for example, test, again test, again test, again test, again test. So I don't have to, if this search query was same with the previous one, it's not going to run and check that string in the web page again. It's not going to check if that string exists in the web page again to print the duplicate information. That's why we don't want that. That's why we are going to check if the search query was equal with the last search term. Try to, for example, console.log duplicate. It's like in Python, it's like a print, but in the console, duplicate search query and return nothing. So here we are going to last search term, we are going to, then after we check this, so if the last search term was not equal with the search query which user is just going to write, that means it is the new query, and this one is not same with the previous one, then try to, okay, try to make these two to be equal with together, last search term with the search query. So right now the last search term is not going to be empty anymore, right? And then try to console log this string, search function called whatever, try to try to clear the previous result, because if you're not going to do this result container dot inner html equal with empty string, if you're not going to do this, if right now I'm writing test and then I'm going to write fit, we are going to see the result of test at the above as well, but we don't want that, right? We want after each new and unique search query, the previous result get empty and get clear. That's why we do this. And then this part is a little bit important, because right now we have to tell to our JavaScript function to check for that string or for that search query inside, like, where exactly, because as I told you, we can implement a search functionality which is going to interact with the server, and the server is just going to send, for example, to send request to the database and check that string if it exists in the database or not. But right now we don't want that. We want if users write something here as a search query, that search query get checked only in this web page by itself, so not interacting with database, but what part of this web page. All these strings which we can see here, all of this paragraph, all of this, and everything which we can see here are a string. That's why we have to first define another variable and try to say to our JavaScript, okay, try to simply select a broader range of elements. So try to simply search for that query inside these elements. So we are going to check that query if it exists inside these elements: h1, h2, h3, paragraph, span, li, and so on. So what just going to do is just going to, if you are going to write something right now here, for example test, or for example here, let me show you interesting example here. This one is label. This female and male, these are existing the label tag. How we can understand? For example, I'm going to write here female, and then we are going to see here female exists in the label tag, right? So because these are in the label tag, if I'm just going to remove this from here, so remove label, and then try to search for the female here, right now it's showing results. Okay, because I know why, because it's simply just going to open that. Firefox, for example, maybe it's a cache problem, or maybe I didn't control S, or maybe the change didn't get happen. But anyway, so I'm going to go to the local again and search. If I'm going to write female, we are going to get the not result found. But why? But we already know female string exists in here. But why in the search result we cannot get any result? Why? Because we already didn't put label tag here, so it's not going to get that query, get that search query and check that search query inside label tag, because we didn't already specify that. So if you want to check that search query in any places, you have to specify that here and say, okay, try to select all of these queries from these elements: h1, h2, h3, h5, h6, paragraph, span, li, a tag, and label tag. Definitely right now if I'm going to control S, and if I'm going to write again female, have to enter again, write again same things, female, we are going to get the result. Why? Because we already said, okay, check that search query inside the label tag as well. So maybe inside the label tags values we have the search query, which is female. So that's this code just going to do. And then we are going to use for each to just go over all of them one by one try to implement a unique ID for each element, because then we want if user click on each of them, so it's just going to navigate smoothly here, which I'm going to explain. That's why we are going to define and assign a unique ID for each element here. And then we are going to simply create another variable, text content, element.text content, which is above with that unique ID. And then we are going to definitely convert that text content to lowercase, include the search query. So what it's just going to do, it's just going to check all of these. If all of these, if one of these things, if the search query was existing one of these things, try to we are going to create another variable, rejects, new, and so on. What's just going to do, just going to, is for regular expression, so it's just going to check for that content, and then we are going to highlight that content, and we create another variable called highlighted text. We try to replace it with that regular expression, and then we are going to use a mark tag here because we want to highlight that result, which you are going to see. Because if I'm going to write now, if I'm going to write fit, here we are going to see these fit are highlighted, right? That is just going to do. And then we are going to use that highlighted text, which is this, with the element ID. What is this element ID? This element ID is just going to make all of these string to be linked. So if you are going to click in each of them, just going to smoothly go to that place. So that's why we already assigned the unique ID, because if you want to make these results in a way that if user click on them, it's just going to smoothly go on them, so it has to find those elements. How it can find them? If those element has a unique ID. That's why we already assigned the unique ID. And then we are going to call this element ID with a unique ID here, and then put them in a href, because this is a link tag, right, with that unique ID. So we are going to say, okay, if user click on each of these, try to go smoothly to them. Which one? The element which has this unique ID. And then we are going to definitely print that, show that search result in a highlighted term. And here we are going to, and it's so on, if the result was empty, so if there was no result, try to say no result found on anything which you want to say. And then we are going to simply say here, okay, document.query selector all search result for each. So we are going to, for each of the result which found, we are going to print them one by one. If even listener was clicked, and then we are going to definitely prevent again, which is for reloading, prevent default traditional way of submit reloading. And then we are going to simply create two more variable, try to create target ID variable, get that href substring of the second one, and target element, and then try to get that target ID, and then at the end we are going to use them here, target element, which is this one, that place with that unique ID, and then try to scroll to that place, but how? Smoothly, so like slowly. That's it. So like if I'm just going to, I think I covered all the function, but generally speaking, like how it works, we have an empty string to check if the previous search query was not same with this current one. We are going to listen to the submit event, and if that submit happened, try to do these two functions. One of them is for prevent from default, avoid from reloading, and second one is just going to call this function, and this function is just going to simply get that search query, try to check if that search query was not same with the previous one. If not, try to make the previous one same with that search query, so the previous search query get updated. Then try to write another variable and try to say like check that search query inside these elements, and then try to go for each of them, try to assign a unique ID because you want to use this behavior here. So you want user to be able to click on them and then smoothly go on them automatically. And then try to text content lowercase. If the search query was existing the text content of lowercase, then try to do the rest, which I explained already. Highlight the search query if it exists. Try to put the href link with that unique ID so they can click on them, and we are going to simply print the search result one by one with a for loop. Definitely prevent from default, which is prevent from reloading, and try to simply scroll into that unique ID. How? Smoothly, and that's it. So right now, if you're going to go to the search again, here we already define ID for each of them, like name ID, and we call these IDs in the JavaScript function. That's as easy as you can see. So how it's just going to looks like at the end? At the end, it's just going to looks like this. For example, I'm a customer. I want to know if this guy is a trainer or not, and I don't want to come and look for that guy. So search here, Robert Danny, enter. We're going to get 2 results. Okay, now I want to research on, click on them. You're just going to go on them here smoothly, and then why 2 result? Because I'm gonna click on the second one as well because it's weird. Why 2 result? Second one. Maybe we have 2 here. It's weird. It showed 2 times. It's weird right now. It doesn't have to show 2 times. I really don't know right now why it's just showing 2 times. We have it here definitely, but where is the other place? David, Robert, John, Yuga. For example, if I'm going to use this Yuga trainer here, for example, we are going to get these amount 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, it's just going to show extra results, which I don't want that. I think I have to fix this bug because definitely this exists in this function. There's a problem here. Right now I get that problem. Maybe in a way that it's just going to show the result. It's just going to show it here. It has to be a problem, or I have to figure out where is the problem. But anyway, maybe I'm just going to add this solution at the end of the video. But the thing which I wanted to say was that, so the way how it works right now, actually I didn't know like it has this problem. Right now I got it, and I'm so happy because I'm just gonna fix it, because this website is for my brother, so I have to try to make sure all of the part of this website are fixed. But the purpose was that user can search, and then it's just going to show the result in a highlight way, that search term in a highlight way, and user can click on them because they're like a link, and these links has a unique ID with the place of that element, and that's it. So it's just gonna find them. I hope you guys like this story like before. I'm just going to put the source in my Medium channel and in my GitHub definitely. I'm going to put the link inside the description. Don't forget to subscribe my channel. Like this video if you like. If you have any problem, if you think the quality of video, the voice is not good enough, try to comment below so I fix it. That's it.